And welcome back to Inside Valley Politics. I'm joined now by Jonathan Gracia, Democratic candidate for State House in District 37. And thank you for joining us and taking the time to speak with us today.
No, it's a pleasure being here. Thank you for having me again.
Now, just first broad strokes question. How's the campaign going?
It's going excellent. We've done a lot of outreach in order for us to be able to get our message out in District 37. It's been a long road, but we've been on the road since August of 2023. And it's given me an opportunity to meet thousands of constituents across the district, and we're just really happy to continue that message out here today.
Now, you were telling me that the catalyst for you to run was public education. And can you kind of explain that a little bit? Why was that the catalyst, and where would you stand on something like the education savings account that's being proposed in the legislature?
Right, that's a really hot topic right now. Education savings accounts are being pushed by the legislature, and in essence what it would do is take out money from public education to transfer over to private education. I'm against that proposal. Right now public education is underfunded as it is, and in order for us to be able to do it under the bills that are being filed, it's going to require them to have less money on the table. And so it was the catalyst for me to have an opportunity to jump into this race because I'm very passionate about it. My wife is actually a public school counselor and also a teacher, and she's been in the industry for the last 17 years of her career, and I'm here to support her and also all of the other educators across District 37.
Now, the point from the other side of that argument would be, why is it that parents can't have money to send their kids to the kinds of schools that they want to send them to?
Sure. Right now, the Texas legislature has an $18 billion set aside. And what that means is that after the legislature set their budget, there was $18 billion, that's with a B, dollars left over. And that money is not being touched at all. Originally, there was this conception that perhaps they would use this set aside and take an up or down vote. It's still something that the legislature needs to be able to decide when they bring a bill this following session in order to determine how exactly they're going to pull that money. But under the current legislation as it stands, they're trying to pull it out of our public education system, which is unacceptable.
Now, I know that last session and through a couple of special sessions, Governor Greg Abbott wanted to pass this ESA legislation, and in fact went out and got a couple of people primaried because they were not on board with it. Now, how would you confront that? How would you combat that sort of pressure tactic coming from the top down?
Right. Well, we're fully anticipating that the governor and the Republican Party in general is going to invest quite a bit of money in order to be able to keep this seat. And so the way that we're going to combat it is through hard work. This campaign has allowed me to be able to reach out to thousands of community members, not only just leaders, but also just constituents. I've been able to walk almost now close to 5,000 homes. And I'm bringing this message out and letting them know that I'm standing for them, that I'm advocating for them. And the best way for us to be able to have District 37 flourish is by having an advocate in Austin that's actually representing our voice. The only way for us to accomplish that is to be able to have that voter contact.
Do you think there might be some sort of compromise measure? Because I've talked to people who say, I want to take some money and I want to go to either a religious school or to another charter school. Is there a way to maybe split that or kind of work out an agreement that says there is a set aside for public education, but then also a set aside for ESAs?
Right. Right now, as it currently stands, my primary objective is to be able to have the $4 billion set aside for public education released, right? So what's happened is that public ed in general has been punished as a result of that legislation failing this last session. In the next session, I'm sure there's going to be a host of bills that will come out in different variations of it. But as it currently stands, I'm standing against that proposal because I want to make sure that public education is funded and funded fully because that's what they deserve.
Now, people use the term education savings account, and other people I've talked to, when you use the word voucher, they say that's not what this is. So can you kind of break that apart for us and just kind of explain to our viewers what is the difference between an education savings account and a traditional voucher?
Right. So education savings accounts allow for money that is allotted to each student to be used by a parent. And so it goes into an actual account that can be drawn for different items, books. It could go towards the actual educational service or the education that's being provided to the student. And it could be at home in addition to enrolling in a private school. But what you'll find out is that the money that's being allotted, right, to each student is, on the whole, generally, not enough for them to be able to pay private school education. And so it's going to require parents to be able to supplement that money that would be taken out of the public education system. But there's also something very curious. We don't want for history to repeat itself. And we already have education savings accounts and AKA vouchers in different states across the nation, one of them being Arizona, who started this initiative. And in Arizona, what you see is the general fund being tapped by this education savings accounts and vouchers, and they're causing overruns in those particular states. They're having so many different parents tap into this system, and there's not enough money. And so what's happening is there are already discussions to see whether or not they're going to raise taxes in order for them to be able to fund this initiative, which of course we don't need that at the current moment. What we need is to be able to fund public education with the money that it deserves and then have these discussions. But the way that they currently have the legislation drafted, it's not good enough.
If so many people are opting into that program, that there's a drawdown on the general fund, wouldn't that suggest that there's wide popular support for it?
Well, what it suggests is that we need to discuss how it is going to be funded. Under the current circumstances, you're going to have it taken out of public ed, and public education currently is underfunded. So with that $18 billion set aside, $4 billion of it is supposed to go into public education. That would be my primary objective, to have that money released regardless of whether or not education savings accounts or vouchers are approved. Now, once that step is taken, you can continue having a discussion whether or not those vouchers or education savings accounts make sense for Texas. But at the current moment, the way it stands, I am against those vouchers.
All right, well, we want to thank you for your time. Jonathan Gracia, running as a Democrat in the State Representative District 37. We'll be right back.